So, do you need a license to start a podcast? Good question. With a little liberal use of the word license, yeah, you do. But not the kind that you're thinking of. This is one of those things that could turn around and bite you. And we're going to cover that here real quick. By the end of this video, you're going to know the difference between a license and licenses that you may need to start your podcast. As a broadcaster, no, not really, but there's some things that you might want to put in your podcast that could get you into a whole lot of hot water. Let's figure out the difference between those and how you can make it legit and not have to write a $50,000 check. How about that? Let's get started. So I don't know if you know this, but up until 1995, the DJs, the hosts that you heard on the radio, they actually needed a license from the FCC to be on the air, to be able to crack the microphone and do the weather report, the traffic report, to tell a few jokes, to play the music. They actually needed a license from the FCC in order to do that. It was the radio telephone operator license from the FCC. As of 1995, you don't need that anymore. In fact, I got into radio after that. There were several people at the radio station who still had their card. They had it laminated or maybe framed it or something like that, but it was no longer a requirement, but boy, oh boy, did it bring back a lot of memories. Yes, it was a test that you had to study for and sit for and take, and when you passed it, you got your FCC license. Now, like I said, as of 95, you don't need that anymore. But there are a couple things that you might want to put into your podcast that may require licensing. Now, let me just say up front, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a tax professional. If you need to get down into the weeds on these and to make sure that that what you want to do is legit, I strongly suggest you talk to a lawyer or a tax professional before you do anything in your podcast that may or may not get you into hot water. And if you're even thinking, well, would it? Could it? Maybe? If maybe is even a possibility, get it checked out, because song licensing people don't play. And if your podcast is going to be talking about people, let's say it's going to be like a Hollywood gossip show, or if you're going to be mentioning celebrities or something like that, be sure to brush up on your slander and libel definitions, just to be on the safe side, what you can and cannot say, what crosses the line, and what is free and open to the public to say. There's a bunch of stuff that you'd be surprised that you probably shouldn't be saying, but yet happens every day around the water cooler. Well, around the water cooler is one thing. Being put out there in the public airwaves or for public consumption is something completely and totally different. Now, one other step you might want to take is either incorporating or making your podcast a business and making it an LLC of some sort. Again, talk to your tax advisor to find out what the best route to go is. You may need it, you might not, but it doesn't hurt to ask. And of course, it will always help on your taxes, because when you start paying for stuff, you can use that as a tax deduction. If it's just you and you're, say, podcasting for a hobby or something like that, you don't get to deduct your hobby expenses. Boy, if I could just deduct my hobby expenses. There'd be a lot of happy fishermen deducting $50, $100, $150,000 boats every day. So no on the hobbies. This is kind of the legal behind the scenes side of podcasting. We cover all kinds of stuff on this channel, like recording and editing and microphones and all kinds of stuff. So be sure to like and subscribe to get the technical training as well. And that will really, really help in all aspects of your podcasting. One of the biggest things that you're going to come up against when it comes to licensing is background music. Let me tell you right up front, one thing that gets more people into trouble is the 7-second rule. Have you heard of that? Probably, if you haven't lived in audio, you might not know about it. But the saying goes that if you only use 7 seconds of an element, like music or something like that, you don't have to pay a royalty fee. You don't have to pay the fee. Whoever came up with that idea and rumor needs to be taken out behind the woodshed. There is no such thing as the 7-second rule. If you're going to use, say, AC/DC's Thunderstruck, you better be prepared with a $200,000 check. I'm not kidding. That is the most expensive song on the market right now. Thunderstruck by AC/DC. Wow. Any song that you want to use that you hear on the airwaves or something like that, any modern artists, even other artists that go back probably 50, 60, 70 years, you can't use those either. Another element is, let's say, the Nutcracker. Okay, the Nutcracker, very popular music to use behind advertisements during Christmas. We get that request all the time. Yeah, the Nutcracker, Tchaikovsky, is in the public domain, but probably the Boston Pops recording of it is not. Their performance is one that you would have to pay for. Do you see the difference? There's the music by Tchaikovsky, and then there's the performance by the orchestra. Two different licenses. Chances are these guys are going to require some type of a payment. So do not use copyrighted music. What you want to look for is what they call royalty-free music. And royalty-free music may literally be just that, free, or you might have to pay a small fee, but then you have the rights to use it under certain circumstances. You can use it in your podcasting. You might not be able to use it behind, say, a radio commercial or a TV commercial. And then again, maybe you can. Maybe it's a very simple license. You've seen the Creative Commons licenses that are just a mention. As long as you mention the artist, you're good to go. It all depends. Watch the fine print. Find these websites and literally just type royalty-free music, and you'll have a whole bunch of them. If you want to buy some theme music, it could be $5, $10, $15, $25, but that's it. That's your only fee. If you find yourself in a situation where you're using a lot of music, a lot of royalty-free music, you might want to pay for a subscription. There are some very affordable subscriptions out there, either on a monthly or an annual basis, and that will cover you there. Again, not popular music. For radio stations to play it, that's a different animal altogether. To put in advertising, that's a completely and totally different animal. Many times when I was working at the radio station, we had a lot of clients asking, oh, can we put so-and-so's music under that? Nope, 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 nope. Don't even think about it. We'll find you something that sounds similar, but no, we cannot use that song by that artist. Absolutely not. And you do end up purchasing, say, either sound effects or music from a royalty-free site. Keep your receipt and keep the terms of the purchase. Again, sometimes you get permission for this, but not for that, whatever the case may be. And the bottom line is somebody is out there. This is where trolls really started, quite frankly. They would listen and say, oh, that's copyrighted music, and they'd turn you in. So if you have your receipt and the terms that say you can use this, just keep it until you die. Because chances are, if it comes up again, somebody's going to say something, and all you got to do is go, nope, here it is, right here, and they'll go away. But you've got to have those two pieces of paper. Just to encapsulate it, as the host, no, you do not need a license, like an FCC broadcast license or something like that. No, absolutely not. But certain elements, whether it's music or sound effects or background songs or something like that, you might need to get licensing. Again, go for royalty-free, one-time fee, or possibly free, and you're still able to use it. Don't forget to download your receipt, and don't forget to download the terms of the agreement that shows that, yes, you have permission to use it this way. Make sense? This is one of those things where you just basically have to cover your intentions. Okay? Cover yourself. Be careful. All right? So when you're on your podcast and you're engaging with your audience, you want to be able to make that personal connection one-on-one with them. That's the true line between a great host and an okay host. And you'll hear it on radio, you'll hear it on TV, and I've got a free PDF for you. The link is down below in the description. Click on it right now and get your copy of Engaging Your Audience. The 3 secrets to skyrocket your podcast's success. This will change your mindset a little bit as when you're talking on the microphone, when you're talking to your audience. There's so many times when I hear a podcast and they shoot themselves in the foot in the first 2 words. We cover that in Engaging Your Audience. So click below and get your copy now. I'm Nic Natarella with AdWise Creative. Thank you for watching.